You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Devon Williamson, founding partner at DevonLaw, PLLC in Nashville, Tennessee, focusing on plaintiffs' personal injury work. Devon, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. It's so cool to have you. Well, first I want to congratulate you on launching your firm, DevonLaw, September 2022. The day after or the day before we featured you on Lawyer Stories. So if anybody out there is, scrolling through the Instagram feed, go check out September 14th, 2022. We have Devon's story on there, which we're going to discuss in a minute.
Yes, and thank you for posting that. Your post, just coinciding with the launch of DevonLaw, was really helpful. And I actually met one of my really good friends from your community. Her name's Phyllis Ramsey. She reached out to me.
It's amazing.
Hi, Phyllis. I should probably watch this, but we actually got lunch, and she turned out to be one of my favorite people I've come across. And she's based in Nashville and DC. She goes back and forth, but I think her home base is in Nashville. But anyways, I met a great friend from your lovely.
That's amazing. And that's like exactly what we want to do with Lawyer Stories Connect, which we're going to be launching in a couple months. We want to introduce people and, hopefully that builds, just like you said, it could be friendships, it could be a referral partner, it could be an associate, you never know. So that is awesome. Like, I truly love hearing that story. So I'm so happy about that. So we featured you September 14th, 2022, the day after you launched DevonLaw. So we want to hear all about it. We want you to catch us up to speed. But I'm curious because it looks like you went from Florida to Nashville. Are you from Florida? Are you a Florida native?
Yes, I'm a Florida native, born and raised in Melbourne, Florida, which is near some buzzwords that because people think Melbourne, Australia. Melbourne, Florida is getting more, traction, but it's really near Cape Canaveral, where they launched the shuttles, Ron John Surf Shop. That's nice. All near where I live, and Disney World is 45 minutes north. So that's where I'm from, born and raised, and I am licensed in Florida as well as Tennessee.
Wow. Yeah. So is it up by Sarasota, sort of, or no?
Yeah, not too far. Not too far.
All right. That's awesome. So you went through school. I think you mentioned in your story that your dad was a lawyer, family law lawyer in Florida. So when did you know you wanted to follow the same path, even though you do different work than he does?
I never, just like I said in the bio, in the Lawyer Stories post that you did with me, I never wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't grow up being obsessed with crime documentaries or, I didn't go to all my dad's trials. Or I didn't really have that, craving to be a lawyer. It really just came naturally. I majored in public relations in undergrad. I minored in creative writing, and I knew come junior year, of course, I'm like, I don't really see myself pursuing a career in this, but it was kind of too late in the game to switch because it would change the whole course of my undergrad.
Right.
Probably be doing a couple victory laps. I just didn't want to do that. So
my
dad and I had a conversation. I distinctly remember, and he said, well, why don't you consider law school? And I thought, it can't hurt. By the way, sorry if you hear ambulances and whatnot. I'm right smack down the middle of the city.
I don't hear anything, but that would be awesome to be downtown.
Yeah, it is. It's great. But yeah, I remember having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, why don't you just go to law school? It can't hurt to get another education. The law degree will protect you and your family down the road, all these great things. And I thought, why not? And so I went on a whim. I wasn't too crazy about law school. I thought it was an interesting experience, but I was.
Yeah, you said that. You did say it in the story. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I just thought it was just so, and of course we do a lot of reading now, but at least we're able to be more succinct and efficient with, how we pick and choose our workload in real life. But in
Yep.
law school, you don't have a choice. They're just like, yeah, con law, you're going to have 60 pages this week, and then you're going to have 60 pages in contracts law. And like, they just pile it on per
Yeah.
week. And of course, you meet twice a week. And then that's only 2 of the courses that we have. So just tons of reading, and the whole Socratic method, which I get, it just,
Oh,
it just,
brutal.
it did. Yeah, it was brutal. And I'm a very type A person, but in law school, I was pretty type B. I just kind of like let the gunners do their thing. I just focused on, I just kind of stayed on the course. I didn't really,
Right.
I had like 2 friends, which I'm a very social person, so it doesn't sound like me, but I really just focused on my work, got through it. But I just thought it was kind of boring. But once I was out of law school on my feet, it was so different. And being in trial, I was a prosecutor right after law school,
Right.
and I was just on my feet a lot, and I was trying cases, and I was vibing with juries and getting to meet more people in my community, obviously that way.
So,
Back in Florida. Go
so
ahead.
what would your dad like? Would you say your dad was a mentor? Like, has he been a mentor to you, or who are your mentors, and what would you say is the importance of a mentor?
So the first question, so you had a couple questions. The
I had
first
a ton
one,
of questions in there. Let's start it with your dad. Let's start with your dad.
yeah, so he definitely is a mentor role in my life. He is the most incredibly well prepared, hardworking person. He goes to the office at 4 a.m. every day. I
Wow.
mean, crazy. But he is definitely, if not the one of the best family law attorneys in the state of Florida.
Wow.
Definitely, I would die on that hill. He's just his work ethic and his knowledge of the law and in the family law world is unbelievable. They always joke whenever someone gets divorced, it's a race to hire Alan,
Right. Yeah.
because the other spouse gets him first, and I'm like, dang. But yeah, he's the go-to guru. And as far as his work ethic and trial prep and his rules of evidence knowledge, he was really instrumental. And even though I never practiced family law, really, as far as like preparing for trials, cross-examining witnesses, he would, I would have a trial as a prosecutor, and I would be the witness, and he would pretend to be me cross-examining me to like teach me good methods before my trial. So yes, definitely a mentor. He still is a
Wow.
mentor. He has his own practice too, and he has for like 35 years. So he is a mentor in all
And
regards.
he's up in
Go ahead.
Melbourne or down in Melbourne, Florida.
He's in Melbourne,
Yeah.
yes. He never left Melbourne.
Nice.
He, wanted to be a big fish in a little pond, so to speak. So
Okay.
that's what was his mentality. And then the second question of yours, I believe, was how is a mentor important? Well,
Yeah.
my answer to that is you can only learn so much in law school. You need someone who can show you the ropes and tell you, yeah, we learned this in law school, but this is how it really plays out in practicality. And it's nice not to reinvent the wheel, see how things are done. I have a lot of mentors in Nashville, in the personal injury world, because my dad is in practice PI and he's also in another state. So my go-tos here, shout out to Laura Baker and Liz Sitz-Greaves at John Day's office.
Nice.
Those girls, they are amazing at plaintiff's personal injury, and they're amazing at their knowledge of, prosecuting those cases, how to handle liens properly, subrogation, all that. They're my go-to mentor. So yeah, you
Wow.
need a mentor for
And
sure.
how did you meet them?
I met them through Lawyers Association for Women, which is an
Okay.
organization that I'm on the board for. And I met Laura through that way. I kind of joined the organization, got involved pretty quickly, and saw who kind of the big fish were as far as like who's most involved, who seems to be like a go-getter like me. And Laura stood out, and then I met Liz through her, and they're at John Day's office, which is like one of the best personal injury firms in Nashville. So I really respect them a lot.
I mean, this is great. You're just like shouting out I hope they listen in because you are just awesome. Like giving all these people the shout outs, like
They deserve
this
it.
person, that. That's great. Like, because you show a lot of gratitude towards people who've helped you along the way and to your friends. I think that's terrific and a great way to be. So
Yeah. Thank
you
you.
have like great experience out of law school, like, federal public defender intern, right? State
Yeah.
attorney, and then back to like the state attorney. So when did you know you made that pivot from like the criminal law side to being in personal injury. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I knew working for the government wasn't going to be the end all be all. It was really just an experience to get trial experience, to learn the ropes, because it's a very common thing, as I'm sure that you know. After law school, a lot of people work for the PD's office, public defenders, or the DA's office. Just a
Yeah.
very common role that young lawyers do. And of course, they threw me right in there at the DA's office. And so once I got enough trial experience, I really knew that I wanted to pivot into private practice, and it felt right as I moved from Florida back to Nashville to do that. And so right when I moved back, that's when I started private practice, and I naturally fell into working at a plaintiff's personal injury firm called Whitfield Coleman in Montoya now. Changed names a few times, but it just so happened that I knew someone from Belmont Law, where I went to law school here, who had interned there, and they Whitfield Coleman and Montoya was hiring, and then my friend spotlighted my resume to them. I got hired, and then I started getting personal injury experience.
Yeah.
It really translated nicely because as a prosecutor, I was defending victims, or protecting and prosecuting, and defending victims of crimes and protecting their interests. And now I do the same, but victims of negligence. So it's all kind of on the same side, just civil versus criminal.
And you have a lot of court experience because of that too. Like, you went in there to personal injuries saying like, I'm going to take a case to trial if I have to. I'm not just going to be like a settlement sort of firm. Like, you were confident enough by that experience you gained, like with the government, to be. And in fact, like one of your quotes, which I'll get to, like on your website, sort of says that about being able to take a case to court, compassionate and like ready for a trial. Or I'll get to it in a little bit, but
yeah.
So I think that I actually wanted to break that down a little bit, because a lot of personal injury that I sort of run into sometimes doing this, or sort of, I don't want to call them mills, but it seems like they settle or farm out like bigger
Right.
trial cases. But if you go to DevonLaw, you're getting full service, it seems like.
Absolutely. So if I take on a case, I do it with utmost intention. So I tell my clients, and I know a lot of lawyers advise against this, but I am available to you pretty much 24/7. I mean, I am there with you. You're never bothering me. They can text me, they can email me. I make myself available because that's the kind of service that they deserve, and that's what they pay for. I mean, as PI attorneys take a good percentage of their settlement, you best believe that we should be available to them, and earning that truly, and not
Sure.
just churning and burning. And yes, my trial experience, I've tried 15 jury trial cases, and I heavily can lean on that to know how trials work, and to have the confidence. And my biggest, I think one of the biggest things working for me is juries absolutely love the vibe that I put out there. They just love that I don't talk like a normal lawyer or look like one. I have tattoos. Of course, most are covered up in court, but I just, I treat them like I do my clients, like I do another lawyer, like I do anyone else, really. And even a judge, other than using the words "Your Honor," I meet people with that humanity and that just kind of like familial vibe. Like I think it's really effective when people feel like they can connect with you. And that's why juries trust me when I ask them at the end of the trial to render a verdict in my client's favor.
That's amazing, and I 100% believe that. Where's your DevonLaw tattoo? Do we have that yet?
We don't have a DevonLaw tattoo.
All right.
I love the logo.
I do too. I was like, that everybody needs to check out your website, because it's actually like a really dope website. And I think like your photo, you're wearing like red on there, and then like the silhouettes in red, and it kind of like matched up a little bit. They did a really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. And it's different, the pictures I'm putting out there, they're not just like with a suit smiling or whatever headshot, it's like kind of like, no, I'm not afraid to do some different poses, or, I'm just not afraid to be different, because I think it really can work in my favor, and it has. So
that's great. So I want to know the story behind Nashville. Like, you were in Florida, you probably had a setup in Florida. And then, I think, did you move once or twice back to Nashville?
So I've hopped around a lot. So I'll start from the beginning. I did my first year of law school in Charleston, South Carolina, Charleston
Nice.
School of
That's where
Law.
I had my bachelor party, Charleston.
Oh my gosh,
Just so
best
everybody can hear
food
that
in the
out there.
country.
Not that they care, but it was a great time. All right.
It's a great place to have a bachelor party. And best food in the country, I think, is
Yeah.
in Charleston. But I did my first year there, and then I transferred to Belmont in 2015 and did my remaining 2 years there. And that is where I, first got introduced to Nashville. I fell in love with it. I ended up after law school in 2017. I graduated Belmont. I took the Florida bar to move home because I thought it really made sense to kind of utilize those connections that I had with my dad and all that. So I passed the Florida bar and then I worked at the DA's office. And then I just started realizing like, I really, though I love, all the connections I was making and I loved, working in Brevard County, I really still felt like something was missing within me. And so I figured out that that was Nashville. I've never experienced a city like it. The people are amazing. There's millions of places to go outside the city. There's millions of different communities and vibes. And I don't know, it has everything that you're looking for. And I missed it so much. So much so that I took another bar exam, the Tennessee one. I had to do the
Oh,
whole thing over again. I remember when I was on the phone calling them, thinking that I would have to do like maybe the state portion or not the whole MBE too.
right,
They
right.
told me I had to do the whole thing again because there's no reciprocity
Well, because
between
Florida messes everything up, all right? Like
exactly.
I passed one bar and then I I did a mission by motion to two others here in New England. And I was very excited about that. But Florida is like, forget it. Like they don't want anybody coming in, retiring and doing estate planning. They're like,
Like you
you
shall
know,
not pass.
and they make it tough. It's not an easy thing to do. So,
Yeah, they really impede ability to transfer, licenses around. So all that to say is yes, I had to take the whole Tennessee bar again, but luckily it was like only 2 years removed from law school, so it wasn't like decades later, So passed the Tennessee bar in 2019, and then that's when I got into the private practice space, and it was really nice. Just no one knows my dad from Adam here. I got to really start over and
okay.
do my own thing, and I wanted to kind of create my own path in life. I wanted to be little fish in a big pond that grows into a bigger fish on my
Nice.
own, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So, and it's been working out really well.
A
And yeah.
little, that's interesting because you use that analogy, but like the opposite way for your dad. Is there
Mhm.
anything like to that sort of? Like maybe not. Like you said, he was, he in Melbourne, he's like a big fish in a little pond, and you kind of want to grow into that role there in Nashville.
Yeah, I think what there is to that is the differences in our personalities, and also Melbourne is a much smaller community and population than Nashville, and so I think, and my dad's smart. He nurtured, his connections early and kind of ruled that area, and so if I were him, I would have stayed. But and he's not a city guy. I'm kind of like a more so I say city. Nashville's pretty a city compared to Melbourne, but I always knew I was meant for like a bigger place,
Okay.
more people,
And
more.
not even like a Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Lawyer Stories has a nice Florida contingency. We actually just had a kick-ass, excuse me, party, like happy hour in Miami back in January. But that was an option. But I think that's a real big credit to you to leave and go like start your own foundation, or not foundation, but plant your own roots, right?
Yeah, and foundation too, absolutely. And the reasons why I didn't look towards Miami or Tampa or any of those cities is I had already experienced the greatness of Nashville, and I just knew I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to get I don't know, I just didn't feel like Florida was my end all be all. Like I didn't feel like it was where I wanted to like put my roots down. I guess it was all just an internal feeling after reflecting for a while, journaling, what have you. And
Yeah,
so
that's great.
we're going back to Nashville and just doing my own thing has been really rewarding.
So before I move on to your firm, which I'm going to get into, I have a question. So, what
Yeah.
advice would you give someone who wants to pivot the area of law that they're in?
I would say that my advice would be to, and back to mentor, I would find yourself a mentor in that field, and I would
Okay.
be buddy buddy with them,
Yep.
and I would, learn about, how they, if they pivoted or how they came to be in that practice. And they, hopefully, if they're a good mentor, they'll show you the ropes of all the like must knows, and this judge, you can't do that, or they'll show you the ropes, and they'll teach you the way things are done in that specific area of law, because every area of law is different, has its own niche, and rules and regulations and statutes and all that. So it's good to have someone who's like been ingrained in that area for quite some time. So that's what I would say. And I would also say give yourself grace, because you're not going to learn everything in that, niche or practice area right away. It's going to take years. But if you have
Right.
skill, there is a way for sure.
Awesome. So you go to Nashville, you work at a PI firm for like 2 years, right? And
Mhm.
then how did you know when it was time to launch your own firm?
So my dad always said, Devon, it's not an if, it's a when. He always knew I was going to do my own thing. And I didn't even know that. I thought, oh, maybe I could be in a firm, the rest of my career. But I really started feeling, and I had a very good experience at my prior job. I learned a lot. They were always there for me regarding like questions I had, and they taught me everything there is to know about PI. So I credit that to them. But I just feel like, and I had interviewed at other PI firms as well around Nashville. And
Okay.
I just felt like I was always going to hit a glass ceiling no matter where I went. Respectfully, I don't feel like, and I'm not even sorry to say this because it's the truth. I feel like I wasn't ever going to get the compensation that I deserved. I feel like I wasn't seen for all that I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And that became more and more evident. And it was evident in other places I interviewed as well. And so it kind of just made sense that I guess this is the time. I guess this is the when. The when is now. So that's kind of, that feeling kind of grew and grew more as time went by. But yeah, I decided it was time to just jump, so to speak.
So what's the first step that you take? You're like, okay, like it's time to jump.
Mm.
I'm gonna start my firm. This is what I need to do.
Wow. So it's funny you asked that, because I asked some lawyers who are solos around here, like, what did you have a business proposal I could see? Like, what did you, they're like, what are you talking about, Devon? Like, you just typical lawyers just like fly by the seat of their pants. But I would say the first step is envision like what kind of firm and business, and what you want to, what are you bringing to the table? What are you serving to your community? What are you trying to get? What are you trying, what vibe are you trying to put out there? And what service, and what, and you want to make sure you're passionate about it, because people can sense when people do things, halfway or not really all in. So you want to make sure that your business concept, and whatever firm, if you're a lawyer, whatever firm you're going to start on your own, it's an area of law that you really do enjoy, because
Yep.
the money will follow. So it
Right.
really was just kind of taking a step back, and visualizing what area of law I was going to do. And I knew it was going to be PI, but I wanted it to be more so, I wanted it to be a different kind of PI firm, like the kind of firm that, like the attorney of the heart, my slogan, the kind of firm where you are not just a case filler. You have someone to literally walk through this with you every step of the way. A big part of what DevonLaw does is we provide easier access to and a better understanding of the law. So my goal is to always provide, I always teach clients, this is what the law is, and this is, how it would apply to your circumstance, and this is why it would
Great.
apply. And if they don't like the law, I'm like, right there with you. I know I hate it too, but unfortunately, like absent, legislation changes, this is what we're dealing with, and I'm gonna help you to the best of your ability, like get the most I can out of this for you. So really was just like a different vibe and way to serve the community. And so that DevonLaw came from that, and the attorney with heart came from that, and then the red colors, and it all just kind of came together. And the logo was the very first thing that we did, where I'm like, wow, like this is gonna go places. This is a really
Awesome.
impactful symbol. So it kind of just took off from there.
That's awesome. You seem like very happy about it, which is always a good thing.
I am.
So that's really cool. Um, so like, what's the best part of DevonLaw and being an entrepreneur?
Honestly, like, and I don't even like, I'm not even just BSing you. The best part, the most rewarding part of what I do is reading my clients' reviews on my Google page.
Yeah.
If y'all Google Devon Law and see my reviews, it's incredible what they write. And it is so touching. And a lot of my clients are, they become family friends. I have some that are based in Wisconsin. Shout out to the Durkee family. They're the best people. They are like my family. And Gary and I, my fiance, we are already trying to plan a trip to go skiing out there with them.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's what I want. Like,
Devon, when's the date? Is there a date set?
yes, May 27th of this year.
That's my anniversary.
No way.
All right, we'll talk about that after the show.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I got 5 years coming up.
Wow,
right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. May 27th. Very cool. Actually, it's not, let me check. Hold on. It's on my necklace. Yeah, 5/27/18. All right.
Amazing. I love
So
how
I'm sorry for that slight interruption.
No.
Yeah, so what you're saying is like clients become your family, like your friends sometimes in some cases. Yeah.
Literally most times. And I always say, like, whenever we conclude a case, yes, you know, the attorney client relationship concludes here, but I'm here for what, don't hesitate to call me or text me, even if it's like, how are you? Or I get happy Easter texts recently.
Yeah,
Like,
it's nice.
it honestly is so rewarding. I'm clearly a words of affirmation person. Like,
well, I was just say like affirmation or like reassurance that you like did a good job. I don't know, like that they're happy with like the product and their result.
Yeah. Clients really see when lawyers actually treat them like human beings and friends, and not just like someone who sits next to them at a table in front of a jury. You know, like there's so much more to it than that. And all my clients see that through my hard work and constant communication and all those things. So
that's great. That's great. So going back to your website, and you did just mention it, your website says attorney with heart. And I wanted to touch on that and have you sort of explain for us what that means to you.
What that means to me is I think that the legal profession has been given just kind of a, I don't know, it's a connotation, negative connotation that you have to be stale, you have to be stoic, you have to be all these like, you know, you have to suppress emotions for the sake of the case, and you can't show too much or it'll look weak. And that couldn't be more opposite, in my opinion. I really think that showing juries and showing clients that you're human and showing emotion with them and leading your cases with heart really is why my clients trust me so much. And so that was where the attorney with heart came from, is because most attorneys are not known to have hearts, you know? So it was just kind of metaphorically speaking, like, well, this attorney does have a big heart and I'm not afraid to show it. I've been told, you know, throughout the course of my career to you act more stoic or don't be so emotional or this, that. And it's just, it couldn't be further from the truth as to how that can really play into your strategy and play into just being a human being. I mean, we got to welcome those emotions. And so that's why I think, and then that's not to say you cry all the time in front of a jury, you know, you don't, well, you don't ever want to swing the pendulum the other way and be too extreme with whatever you are, but it's okay to show emotion, and it's okay to lead your case and advocate with heart, advocate people with heart. And so that's my MO.
I love that. And people can get that, I think, from meeting you right away. So tell us about, I know service is a big thing for you too. I think it's outlined on your website a little bit, and I think like it's important. So I just wanted you to tell us a little bit about the importance of service at DevonLaw, and you kind of just touched on it one of
Yeah.
the previous questions.
Do you mean like, I'm going to hit back with you with another question. Do you mean like how I serve my clients or serving the community? What do you mean specifically?
Yeah, like sorry, so like serving your clients, like if they call you up like an intake and making sure that you call them back and like you follow up with their questions and you're not blowing off their calls or their emails, like that sort of service.
Yes. So my dad always taught, shout out to my dad again. He always taught me, you always have time to respond to people's emails. Even if it's just received, I will get back to this
Right.
tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
You always respond. We always have time. It's just what we do with it. So I am very responsive on my emails. I'm a big email gal. My texts, I'm very responsive. I just always make sure to respond to people that same day. Or if I can't address the actual issue of what they're contacting me about, I will say received. I will look at this tomorrow and get back. And
That's great.
Yeah, that's
really because I feel like these people, I mean, they're in such a vulnerable situation, and like everything's like hinging. They're like checking their phones, probably checking their emails, seeing like, did the attorney write me back yet? When am I going to hear back? I try to always think of that too when I'm at work. Like people really they count on you a lot, for a position that you're in. So that's a really good way to be, even if you don't have the answer in front of you, just to let them know that you received it and you're gonna get the answer.
Yeah,
sure.
That's the kind of service like I provide to my clients, because I don't take it lightly how much of a contingency fee that SPI attorneys get from settlement verdicts. I mean, you really have to work for that and earn that, and be communicative and be very responsive. I mean, I just want to feel like I earn it as well. And I've never had a client complain about fees or anything like that, probably for that reason, because they really feel like my hard work, they can see that and then I earn it. So, and in fact, whenever I reduce my fees, they actually, a lot of them hate that. If I have to reduce a fee because there's a lower settlement or policy limits, there's the limits. They're like, oh, I hate.
So how does that work when there's a lower settlement? Do you tell them like if it comes in under a certain amount or?
So sometimes there's policy limits that are low. There's like a wreck that someone has a surgery for. Unfortunately, the at fault person has insurance only for $25,000. So if that's the most there is to get, that's a low settlement compared to one surgery costs how much, like super expensive, plus pain and suffering, plus time off work. So I explained and a lot of times, I explain to them, I say, you are not being made whole, but I've unturned every stone here. There's no other forms of recovery. I look at their own auto insurance, I look at maybe umbrella insurance. I leave no stone unturned. And sometimes there's only one stone. If there is, sometimes there's no stones, which is really sad. But if there is one stone, sometimes it's very low policy limits. And in those cases, I always consider reducing just to get more money in their pocket, especially when they're not being made whole, given all the sources of recovery that there is.
And is that unlike other attorneys? Like, do you think other attorneys wouldn't do that? Some other attorneys?
Luckily, the attorneys that I worked with, they have this rule that, and this is totally right, they don't ever want to have a fee that's higher than what the client nets. So they would never have that. My old boss, my old firm was really good about reducing fees.
Okay.
So the good PI attorneys that I worked with do that. And I think that it's the right thing to do under certain circumstances. But, I do also realize how hard that I work. So, if the circumstances don't warrant it, I always feel like with how hard I work and how much I make myself available, that I earn that percentage. So it depends on case by case circumstance and whether the settlement or the verdict is going to make the client whole, given what they've been through with their injuries.
Makes sense. So like what would make your firm, DevonLaw, different than other Nashville PI firms?
Well, first of all, there's not that many women owned. So,
that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the first one. There's a few that I know, but not really many.
I mean, it's awesome for you, like not in general, but it's awesome. Okay.
It is awesome. I mean, it's great to see women coming into leadership more and more over the years, but really the big thing that why DevonLaw sticks out is because of the way I handle cases and because of how clear and constant my communication is, and because my empathy and because of my the way I approach cases and people and their circumstances is unlike any other. The best example, I could go on and on, but the best example is read through my Google reviews and see what people write. I mean, it's
That's
really,
awesome.
it's just about making it all about them and not making it about the money or yourself at all. It's about them, and it's about connecting with them. And I think that human connection is something that, and I will say, I haven't seen that anywhere I worked or anywhere, that any of my other experiences. So I think that's what makes it different. I'm sure it's present in other firms, and but I haven't seen that constant communication, that constant human connection that develops throughout the handling of a case. So that's what I would say is what makes DevonLaw stick out the most.
That's awesome. So going back to your website, it says compassionate and trial ready. I know I touched on that earlier in our show. And I think those are like two very sort of different things, but I love how there's sort of, you put them together here. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
That is an interesting juxtaposition. I agree. But really the best way to describe it is I'm really easy to work with. I'm really, chill, even with opposing counsel, until you cross me, or until, I have that side to me where if I feel like someone's trying to toy with my client or lowball them or play unfair, let's go to trial. I have no problem like putting that hat on.
Have you ever been like, I'll see you in court? Have you ever done one of those?
I honestly, nothing's like come in my mind, but it sounds like I've been in negotiations where, I've said, we're just going to seek the litigation process because I think we're going to get just compensation that way.
I think it's a great, like you said, juxtaposition. There. Very cool.
It's funny because you wouldn't expect it, because like I'm bubbly and I like act like I'm soft, but boom, like if you cross me, I'm not afraid to push back at all. And you got to be that way, because if you're not, then you're going to get walked all over for sure.
Wow. Nice. Yeah, for sure. So like what kind of cases are you seeing the most now in your work?
Honestly, this will give you a chuckle. I would say half of my cases are typical car wreck cases. And then half of them are dog bites. And my fiance coined the term dog bite Devon. And we've even put that on beanies that have been selling out. It's been on our merch. And he's even come up with phrases like
really on beanies.
Muzzle on them insurance company. We put the muzzle on them insurance company. So we're like playing around with it. Isn't that good? We're playing around with some marketing there. And we may do a commercial one day, but dog bite Devon. I've honestly could teach a CLE on dog bites at this point. They're pretty complicated liability wise, because Tennessee law likes to protect the dog owner, especially if the bite happens on a residential property. If the bite happens in a street or in public ground.
So many questions. I had a situation last summer I was just talking about tonight with my wife, and I'll tell you after. I'm not going to bring it out. I don't think my neighbors, they don't not listen to this, but I'll tell you about it after maybe.
I'd be interested to hear. Of course, it probably didn't happen in Tennessee, right?
It didn't. Right. It's a different jurisdiction, right? We're in Massachusetts, but still, it's the general sort of common law of the whole thing.
Exactly. I'm very keen on dog bites, just inadvertently. So it's really just kind of a lot of PI attorneys that are around here. They don't want to deal with dog bites because liability is like, sometimes you have to be really creative. And so I've been getting referred a lot of dog bite cases, and it's just kind of taken off from there. So dog bite Devon.
That's awesome. Okay, we'll take it. That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
So where do you see DevonLaw in like 5 years?
Wow. I see hopefully a strong team behind me, not even behind me, like next to me, or equals, just charging at the issues of civil justice, getting compensation for our clients, just doing the good work out there. I see a team. And then maybe I see opening some other locations, maybe in Florida.
Nice. There you go.
Maybe I can circle back to Tampa or Miami and have some locations there. But I see a very strong team. And I say that because I know that doing it on your own is not going to be the most efficient way, and nor you have to be alone. It's great to work with teams, but I know me, and I know, the work that I've seen from a lot of other attorneys, I'm going to be very picky in my hiring process because I'm very thorough, and my work ethic is like really, really strong. And so I know there are others out there like that, but it's gonna have to be someone who, has that grind and that mentality that I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looking forward to seeing it. And by the way, if you ever see anybody on like Instagram or that we interview on the podcast, or anybody that you think you'd want to connect with, even in Florida, we have a good contingency. Like, I'm more than happy to make the warm introduction. That's sort of what I want to do. That's where I come in. That's where Lawyer Stories Connect is going to come in, besides these other cool things that we're offering. And like, I hope we can, get you to be a part of that, like in terms of meeting people and, helping you grow, because I think what you're doing is awesome.
Thank you. I think what you're doing is awesome too.
Thank
and I'm excited to learn more about Lawyers Connect. And I'm definitely going to get involved in that because I already love Lawyer Stories. So
thank you so much. Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to say today that we missed out, or any other advice that you'd like to share with Lawyer Stories?
Really, just trust the process, and you're going to go through ups and downs in your careers. You're going to, deal with difficult situations internally with employers, and also in difficult situations with clients. As long as you are morally forthcoming and ethical and hardworking and just a good person, even if you do make a mistake, admitting that and being a human, I think those qualities will really get you farther than people had thought that they did, historically. So I think this is a movement. And I think that, clients, we need to gain more trust in the legal community. And that's a big thing that I'm trying to do. And so that's a good way to be. And that's just my advice. Give yourself grace. And anyone joining the law profession, you can be whoever you want to be and still, I'm going to say it, kick ass as a lawyer. So
I love it. And any way we can help you, we will. So I hope it was great connecting, and we're going to stay in touch. And stay right there. And thanks for coming on, Devon. DevonLaw, Nashville, Tennessee, personal injury. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, wherever you are in the world today. Enjoy yourselves. Cheers.